Hello and welcome to the DigiHype Media Presents Get Noticed Online podcast, sponsored by DigiHype Media. Digital marketing made easy. Our guest today is Brian Adams.
Yes.
That's a pretty famous name,
Brian.
Brian.
Yes, correct.
Thanks for being here. Brian is the communications officer for Mars Biomed. Brian, again, welcome to our podcast. Thank you for
thanks for having us.
The trek out here.
Yeah, it's great.
Awesome. Maybe, Brian, we could start off a little bit by telling us a little bit about your role as a communications officer at Mars and tell us a little bit about what you do there.
Yeah, so what I do there is dealing with any dental offices that have any questions, working with our registration card system, inputting it and keeping everything up to date, dealing with distributors, any questions they have, installations, anything along those lines.
Wow.
Kind of deal with. So
you must be a pretty busy guy because I've seen your list of distributors online there, and it's significant,
keeps
right?
us busy.
And keeps growing.
Yes, definitely.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So tell me about your personal background. What brought you to Mars and got you involved in this industry?
It's funny. I was actually, before I started at Mars about 2 years ago, I was a chef for about 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Which, and it just got to a point where a pandemic happened. Things were kind of, in that industry were kind of not going so well. And, I had kids, got married, just wanted to spend more time with the family. And, and then just kind of fell into this job, and it's been great ever since.
Oh, fantastic. Good for you.
Yeah.
And you've been there since?
About 2023 beginning.
Oh, okay, great. So a couple of years. Awesome.
Yep.
Good for you. Brian, maybe we can get into a little bit about Mars Biomed and what Mars Biomed is all about. Tell us a little bit about the background of the company, stuff like that.
Mars Biomed is we produce the Liberty Boss amalgam separator, which are mandated that every dental office has to have. And we also have our evacuation line cleaners. And a big component of us is our environmental impact. Everything that we do is our separator reduces or takes out 99.6% of mercury out of their wastewater system after they're done with the patient, which is the highest in the market.
Wow.
Out of amalgam separators. Most other separators just do the insoluble mercury, whereas we do soluble and insoluble. So we kind of have that extra bit that gets filtered out of the wastewater, so it doesn't go into our drinking water, wastewater systems.
Excellent.
And all that, so which is great.
So it's a system that actually catches, and you're able to pull this and separate this.
Exactly.
And that's your main, main product line?
Exactly. And we also have, which is great, we have Darcy International Consulting on board with us as well, where we work with wastewater treatment plants or cities if they're seeing that, hey, we're getting high readings of mercury in the wastewater. They can come to Darcy, and we can help dental offices get back to compliance, and they're no longer expelling all this mercury into our water systems. So,
that's fantastic. Now, I guess a lot of people, speaking to our audience and stuff like that, aren't aware of the fact that there needs to be a process where you separate that water that's expelled when you go to the dental office and stuff like that.
Because it's the mercury, or the amalgam fillings have mercury in them. So anytime, like the older generation has, now they do other things like composite fillings, but there's still a huge portion of the population that has, these amalgam fillings. And even if you're just working on them, it's still mercury is being expelled into the water system.
Right, and you guys take care of that, separate it, move it, and store it properly.
And our whole unit itself is fully recycled. The plastic is melted down. Any of the metal pieces in the unit are repurposed. Any of the biological is burned off, and any of the mercury that in that final step is kind of is left over. It's sold to, I think the government was buying from us at one point, and then they repurpose it and other things.
So every single particle and everything is utilized in one way,
recycled, so it doesn't end up in a landfill or anything like that. So
that's excellent.
Yeah, it's great. It's really great.
So quickly, you mentioned Darcy. Darcy's a natural offshoot of Mars Biomed, and you're dealing with not just certain businesses, but you're also dealing with the environment now.
Exactly. Yeah. And so what it does is they use the Liberty Boss system and our line cleaners, and they use that entire system, and we help bring an office that say is too high in mercury levels, or the city saying that, hey, this is way too high, we need to fix it. That's where we come in and help them through, and we use our system. And I mean, it depends how much, mercury they're expelling. But they, it could take, we did one in Ontario, it took about a year to kind of get them fully into compliance again.
Oh, wow.
But a lot of, for dental offices, I mean, you get a notice from the city or a wastewater treatment plant saying, hey, you can be fined, you can be shut down. It's kind of scary. So we kind of come in the middle and kind of work between both of them. So we kind of work with the city to tell them, hey, this is what we're doing. This is, the success we've had. It might take this amount of time. So we can kind of, advocate for a dental office that might feel a little, kind of
a little pressure.
Yeah, a little pressured or scared to be like,
we
what's going
need to
on?
fix this if there's an issue,
and that's where we come in. We work with both sides, and and then it goes the other way too. We could work with a wastewater treatment plant that is having, say, a difficult office that isn't coming into compliance. We can kind of come in and say, hey, this is what needs to be done, and
okay,
from there. So yeah,
great.
so
Okay,
it's great.
So I know that Mars deals with not only dental offices. What sort of other businesses are you involved with?
Yeah, we
what products?
We deal with schools, like educational facilities. That obviously have a dental program. We deal with them. It's higher volume. I believe McGill in Montreal we deal with as well, in the University of Montreal. Naval bases, things like that. Prisons have. They use amalgam. It's the cheapest option out there, so they use a lot of amalgam for the people that are there, and so and those are bigger facilities where a small dental office or even just a regular dental office might just have 6-7 chairs, whereas some of these other places could have like 80-90 chairs. So obviously you need more units, and we gotta build it in so it'll kind of filter everything out. So
this is something you deal directly with schools and stuff that are dealing with this. Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. For your product on the industrial side, you talked about Darcy. Is there something that you guys also do for, like, to use an example, Cambridge has a lot of historic buildings, right, that have different types of office. Is there something that's sort of a build that you guys can build into the water system for this to sort of make them safer?
Exactly, and we do that all the time. Any dental office, they'll kind of come to us. We always ask, they send pictures of the area that we would set it up in, and then we just kind of basically figure it out from there. And and it's some of the setups are pretty wild.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Some offices I go in to make, it's outside in the back, and then down it's far away from the office. And so I mean, there's always a way for us to kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. Kind of.
So there's different things you take into consideration. Obviously, the area.
Yep. But yeah, that's something. It's kind of like, any office that comes on with us. You kind of have like a meeting of, okay, like, how are we gonna, facilitate this? And But but it's there's always something we can do for it. So.
Okay. Yeah. Now there's to have your separator, your amalgam separator. Obviously, there's other products that you offer that's help service that product. Can you tell us a little about some of those products?
So the big ones are, we have our evacuation line cleaners. We have a daily line cleaner and a quarterly line cleaner. So daily line cleaner is just used every day. It kind of cleans out your lines, whatever. But it's just
a vacuum process.
Yeah, pretty much. And it kind of, the big one is our quarterly line cleaner. It really, prophy paste is kind of the biggest culprit that'll kind of clog the evacuation lines. So what it is, it's made from pumice. It's made from kind of rock. They use it because it's very abrasive. So when they're cleaning teeth, it really cleans them well. But the problem is that when it gets in these lines, if it's not, it'll block up the lines over time. So what the Clean Lines does, every 3 months, they use it for 8 straight days. It gets used like a daily cleaner. It gets vacuumed into their lines. It sits overnight. And there's a biological component to it that'll eat away at that, buildup, and then it'll keep your lines kind of clear, and it won't kind of gunk up. So the problem that I've gone to offices where I've done installations, we're having suction issues. Something's not right, and they'll think it's the separator itself, but there's nothing in our separator that'll clog anything or restrict airflow. But it's always in the lines, and what that does in a lot of places, they'll turn up the pump a lot higher just to kind of make the pump work harder, and then they'll get better suction. But over time, it just puts wear and tear on your pump, and then it could damage that, more maintenance, things like that. Yeah, so I always think of it like a separator in our 2 lines cleaners is kind of like the toothpaste, the mouthwash, and the dental floss. Right. It's kind of like you do all those. Yeah, you need all 3 to really keep the system running well, And we see it all the time. We get offices, I'm having suction issues, and they just don't know.
They don't use that third step.
Exactly. They'll just use the daily cleaner, and they're just like, oh, that's all I need, and off it goes. Some people will use these like shock treatments, but it's just too abrasive. It'll damage lines, where ours is all natural. It's all biodegradable, all that.
And he says biological. So it just eats away.
And
it
just
slowly
eats away at that kind of sludge, and then it expels it. So a lot of these places, going back to the high levels of mercury, they'll have these. It'll be so impacted that pieces will come off eventually, and then of course there's so much mercury in there, then their readings go through the roof.
Right.
So that's where when we do go to those offices, we use clean lines regularly use it for every 3 months for 8 straight days. Let it sit overnight. You flush it out in the morning when you turn your pumps on, and off you go. And then after the 8 days, you go back to your daily line cleaner. So when we have those ones that have high levels, we do it for 16 straight days. We kind of purge it almost. We really kind of give it a really aggressive, and then we just go back into like a 3-month cycle. And over time, that stuff will loosen up, kind of come out. And then
so it's obviously recommended to have a maintenance cycle with these.
Big time.
With the product.
And we sell it, right? And we sell it in a 3-pack. So you get 2 bottles of the daily cleaner and 1 bottle of the clean lines. And I mean, 2 to 3 chair practice, that'll last you a full year. So even if you have 6 chairs, it'll last you about 5-6 months.
And who usually maintains the system at the dental offices? Is it you guys? Or is it them,
this is the thing. Ours is completely maintenance free.
Mm-hmm.
There's no. So just to touch on, kind of our competitors. All our competitors have a filter system. Ours is filterless in a sense that there's no filter change. Okay. It's just there's a filter inside the unit itself, and when it's time to replace the unit, it's based on operatory chairs. So if you have 1 to 3 chairs, that unit will last you 3 years. 4 to 9 will be 2 years, and 10 plus chairs will be 1 year. So depending on how long you have it for, you just recycle the entire unit. You get a whole brand new box. Whereas the other ones, it'll be a little filter cartridge you pull out, you put it in your recycling box, you ship it away for recycling. But the problem with that is you're being exposed to that mercury, even the methyl mercury, the airborne. When you're changing those, obviously mercury poisoning isn't great. So you're just exposing yourself to more of that, and any hygienist out there would know. And it doesn't smell the greatest. It's stuff from biological stuff from people's mouths and teeth, things like that. So it's just not a pleasant experience. So with ours, it's completely, it just sits in there. You literally set it up. It's like that.
So it's a sealed unit.
Yeah, and you just leave it in there, and then after 3 years,
I'm a layman, but that sounds so much better.
There's no service. There's nothing. They don't have to look at it. You could set it. It's like that Ronco infomercial, the set it and forget it guy. It really is that. That's right. You just let it sit there and it does its thing. So so it's and just to kind of touch on cost. Our unit, a brand new unit, is $1,524, the initial one. Replacements are $1,381. Just when we've initially set up, there's a little bit of, connection hoses, quick connects, things like that. But after we've installed those, the second one's a bit cheaper because those are already in place.
If I can, for the dental offices, so they're aware.
Yeah.
15, how much was?
Sorry, $1,524 initially.
That's .00.
Yep.
Just wanted to make
and
sure
then $1,381 is the replacement unit. Whereas, so for 3 years, you're paying, say that first initial one, $1,524, where over 3 years with our competitor, you're paying about just under $5,000.
Wow.
So just the savings alone,
significantly
it really
more
is
affordable.
Yep. And again, you're not exposing your staff to any type of.
And if you put that over, the 3 years or whatever, the months, it's
I mean, in 1 year you switch to us, you've already paid off the next like 3 separators you're going to get. So. For what I mean?
That makes sense.
It's really
so how many separators do I need for an office? Is it broken down by the amount of chairs you have?
So if you have 1 to basically you only need 1. If you kind of get to 16, 17 chairs, usually we kind of split it up. Sometimes we've gone to offices, they'll have 2. Mostly it's in offices that they start here and then they kind of expand their office, they grow it. And sometimes they just run into, they have 2 pump systems, and then we'll kind of break it up so you need 2 separators per pump.
Okay.
But for the most part, if you're just a regular office, you only need 1 of them.
Wow. So it's a pretty powerful system.
Yeah. Yep. Excellent. So, and like I said, it works great. No maintenance. There's no maintenance fees. It's not like every 6 months we have to come back and check it and, you charge them. And it's just the one-time fee.
That's awesome.
And also no recycling fees. There's we recycle it for you.
So there's no additional cost to that?
Nope. we'll recycle also. So if they switch from a competitor to us, we'll recycle their old unit for them as well.
Oh wow!
So yeah, so we
So
don't
you take away the old stuff.
We'll take away the old one.
and you
Again,
take care
we'll
of it.
recycle it free, no charge to them. So
Wow,
yeah,
okay.
it really is. And again, just going back to the DSO, the larger, if you're talking about the ones that have like 1,000 offices, you times that out by, you're saving like $500,000.
Absolutely.
Like it's big. So
A shout out to
yeah.
those big organizations. You need to have Mars on board because you're going to save an
Exactly.
awful lot of money. It's all
Exactly.
bottom line.
Yep.
Okay, so that's great. So tell me a little bit. Looking on your website, I see you can purchase products online, but you have U.S. and
Yep.
Canada, of course. Tell me about the geographic area cover.
Yeah, so right now we do North America. We do have an office out of Buffalo. It's just outside of Buffalo in Depew, New York. So anything in the States doesn't have to cross the border, things like that. It just gets shipped from them. It's 3-4 days max shipping time. It's it's not a long kind of process. So yeah, and we have them all over most states in the U.S.
Okay.
California, Washington State.
So you have coverage
So
with different
Florida,
distributors that can get
all
it to
over.
them.
Yep.
and-
Yep. Patterson in Canada is one of our bigger ones, and Dental Fix down in the U.S. and then all sizes of distributors. So
Excellent.
yeah, it's great.
What's sort of the next natural step for Mars? Is there a next natural step for Mars?
So the next step is, like I mentioned, the DSOs is we're really trying to, just because it's, we can kind of capture a bunch of offices that, maybe aren't as compliant, or, getting like on the environmental aspect, we could capture more that are going to be filtering out more
and they
more
can
mercury.
become more compliant.
Exactly.
Right.
So so we're really looking into that, and the great thing about our system is it's 99.6%. It takes out of the water, whereas if the EPA or any standards go up higher, we're going to meet those thresholds already. Like we're so far above.
You're beyond it.
Yeah. So
What is the natural?
Yeah.
What is the actual average threshold right now?
right now, I'd say it's about 95.
Right.
Yeah. So
you're
we're
above
that,
the
and
mandated amount.
I don't see how they're ever going to get to 100%.
Sure.
Unless some technology comes out. But
Right.
it's we're well above. So we'll always be in compliance.
And where's where's your head office located?
Head office is in Whitby, Ontario, in Canada, and we do we manufacture everything there. The bosses are line cleaners, and then we have our warehouse down in the U.S. that we ship stuff down there, and then we have a team down there that does the shipping. And
So your company's 100% Canadian, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's great.
So tell me about, as far as, just want to ask a couple other quick questions.
Yep.
Environmentally, what can you say to maybe offices, dental offices in particular? What should they be looking for in the type of service you provide or the type of products you provide if they're looking for someone new?
Obviously, cost is always a factor.
Yeah.
But but they really should look at, I find a lot of the times just on our line cleaners, they just, it's always like, oh, I have a daily cleaner, that's it. But really the focus on that, that biological line cleaner is so important. Like, as I mentioned, it keeps your lines clean. It keeps everything, kind of on the compliance side. You're not going to run into any issues. It keeps, again, it can put stress on your pumps. It just adds more maintenance costs and things like that. So this way, I really think, looking at that, again, ours is filterless. There's no, to me, it's a no-brainer, but but yeah, it does. It works really well. The system works incredibly well.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah,
and to your first point,
Yep.
from a cost perspective, it just makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
it really does, and that's where I think we're trying, and speaking with these DSOs is really coming at that. Like, let's be honest, everyone's in business; they want to make their money and stuff, and but it really does. And on our side, there's the environmental benefit of it as well. Let's be honest. Yes, again, you want to make money, but it really, I have kids. I don't want them drinking, contaminated water, things like that. So, and some offices are saying, well, we can just replace our lines, if it's all gunked up. But I mean, but those lines are going to go somewhere. They
have to be put somewhere.
They have to. Yeah, so you can't just throw it in a landfill and then it's going to seep into the soil.
And that's probably exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah,
right?
so I mean, this way it's, we got, with our system, you can get it out and everything will be fine. It'll be contained and,
That's the old saying, be a good corporate citizen, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the reality.
Yeah, and that's, and I think too, like, for us as a company, we want to, like, we partner with these companies. It's not just, oh, you're coming on, you sell our product. Like we do, we're always in contact with them. How can we help you guys? Like, what are you guys hearing? How can we better assist? We do training with on the technical side, technician training, especially, some of the technicians are older. They kind of know their stuff, but there's always new technicians coming in.
Right.
Sales training, anything. Like, we're pretty open to, like I said, partnering with them and helping them and,
Excellent.
So
tell me about, just quickly, one more thing about, you have a lot of videos online that speak to a lot of different things. Can you tell us a little bit about that? So if people want to find out a bit more, they can go to those videos.
So if they go to marsbiomed.com, there's a download section. It has all our SDS sheets on our line cleaners and everything. It has videos on how to install a separator. If there's a demo, I've done it with many doctors where they're like, could I just install it myself? Replacements are very simple to replace. There's videos on there how to do it step by step. Again, I've done Zoom calls with doctors, walked them through it. So there's all that on there. Our manuals on there. The videos are great. They're pretty straightforward, easy to follow. They're really short. They're not too long to sit through and kind of have to pause and go back. They're pretty great.
Excellent.
So,
good stuff. Is there anything else, Brian, you'd like to add before we wrap up?
I think, like I said, we're really looking to kind of, speak with some DSOs and kind of, see what we can help them with. And, and same thing with our distributors. We're always adding distributors. We love to, talk about our product.
Excellent. Well, listen, all you DSOs out there,
Yeah.
you've heard about Mars Biomed now. I'm sure you've heard about them in the past. If you want to save money and, of course, add some money to your bottom line, they're probably the best bet for you.
Yep.
Check them out. And they're in Oshawa, Whitby.
Yep.
Whitby. And phone number.
You can 1-866-594-3648.
And the website again?
marsbiomed.com.
Excellent. Brian, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Brian has joined us from Mars Biomed, and we want to thank you all for watching our podcast. Please check them out at marsbiomed.com. And thanks again. You guys have a great day, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks.